How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the No Skip Show. I'm Travis Platt, and today we are here with a very special guest. We are here with Joey from Koyo.
Yo, what's up? Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, where are you guys from?
We're from Long Island, New York, particularly the towns of Farmingdale, Hauppauge, and Stony Brook.
Awesome. And how would you describe your sound as someone who has never listened to you guys before?
It's kind of a funny and nuanced question. I think the simplest answer that doesn't take that long is it's like emo inspired and informed by hardcore music. That's probably the safest summary answer.
Sweet, sweet. And one question is, I've had a chance to see you guys in large venues opening for the story so far in Super Heaven, as well as in small venues with Anxious and One Step Closer and Prize Horse. How do you separate the shows and how do you attach them differently? And how do you pick out your set list from there?
That's an interesting question because in a perfect world, regardless of the room you're playing in or the setting, like best case scenario, people are stoked and energetic and moving and vibing with the set. But especially when you're playing like support tours, which is where you're playing under bigger bands, in the case of Story So Far, for instance, like you don't 100% know that you'll have people down for you who already know the band, whatever, or even if they don't know you, if they're stoked to move around, you just can't bet on any of that. So we always try and tailor the sets with like high energy in mind, even if it's like a crowd that doesn't know us. The hope is by halfway through you get warmed up and figure it out. It doesn't always pan out that way, but I think the separation between the two is like more akin to like the Anxious One Step tour. The vibe is like energy above all else. Like we could sound like shit, it doesn't matter. The vibe is like energy. People dive in, having a good time. Like the set barely matters beyond that. In a room like Story So Far, like when we tour Bayside, whatever, we want that energy too, but there's a little more emphasis and focus on sounding good, performing well, whatever it may be. Just like, it's more important to actually like leave an impression, I guess, in that sense.
Sure, sure. And do you have a personal preference on what kind of show you prefer?
That's a good question. My preference realistically will always be the shows like today, where it's like more traditionally like a hardcore show setting, like no barricades, small room. The energy is always like, that's the vibe. That's what it's all about, truly and sincerely. But that's not to say I don't love the big room stuff and like appreciate those opportunities, because the hope is that you bring a couple people from those shows back to rooms like this and like they're just in on what's so dope about all this,
Absolutely. And the goal is always getting more people in the room as much as possible.
Totally.
Now, you mentioned being a mix of emo and hardcore. Do you have any bands that specifically influence you as a vocalist? And do you have any favorite all-time bands?
That's a great question. Influence is always hard, and not to give like a cop-out answer. It's just like, I think similarly to the answer I gave before about like, if you never heard the band, how do you describe it? I think all of my influences are like a composite of just the bands that I like that inspired the band, even if I'm not necessarily trying to do their thing one-to-one, like the Silent Majority, Take It Back Sunday, Movie Lives of the world are like what made this band exist. And by proxy, even if I don't think I'm doing that one-to-one, that's like probably instinctually what is happening,
Absolutely. So with that, like, I guess the question is, you guys are still a relatively new band. You formed in 2020, if I'm correct. Your first show was...
That's right.
Yeah, and you guys are getting ready to release your second album. So how did you approach the songwriting from your newest record that's yet to be released comparatively to Would You Miss It or previous EPs?
Interesting question. I think my answer to this is kind of in reverse. And this is not to say all bands do this, but I think a common experience is like, obviously you have all the time in the world to write your first record, your first LP, but I think a lot of bands write their first record over whatever amount of time, and it's like a very natural and easy process, and maybe not for everyone, but I imagine in many of my peers' case, it kind of comes together very naturally because those are all your gut instinct ideas. That's every idea you've ever had happening there. And then LP2, although you have less time to do it, it's like this magnum opus effort. Like you're thinking it must transcend the last thing. It must be a whole nother level, whatever. And I think that makes some records that I absolutely love from bands I love. Like there's a lot of records that are like, yo, this is elevated to another level because of that. But then there's some records where it's like, yo, like maybe this was like a little too much oomph and overthinking. I would I would say that our first LP was oomph and overthinking. Our first LP was this like uh, a friend of mine who sang for Vane described Vane songs as every song was a quest. Like writing all those songs, every single one was a quest. That's what LP1 felt like. Every single song was this like mission to bake it to perfection. LP2 felt like what I imagine more bands LP1s feel like, where it's like we just got in there and did it, and it was like so seamless and not overthought at all. If you liked the first thing, it's more of the same in a good way, and like I feel stoked on that. Like
Awesome.
we didn't think that hard about it. We just did.
That's it. And like, I personally think your first album, you guys nailed it on the head for that sound that you guys have. So I'm really, really excited for what's to come with the second album.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And with that, like, do you think about the live show whenever you're writing, whenever you're recording, and how to bring that energy into the live show?
That is honestly like maybe one of like across all music we've ever made, like one of the probably main through lines considered across the whole thing, because like all the songs, everything the band does, it's about energy. It's about tangible energy. And it doesn't necessarily mean we're tailoring the songwriting one-to-one with that, but like I think LP1, LP2, the first EPs, whatever, there's always like that like, damn, like how will this feel like when we're actually playing this? If people connect with this, well, this song will have this moment, this will be like that, whatever. And I think that's existed across everything. It's always not necessarily about forcing people to react a certain way, but it's like if this connects, if they feel it how we hope they feel it, this part will be crazy, or this song will be crazy because it was tailor-made for people connecting to it in that way, you know?
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. And if you have never seen Koyo before, it is one of the most energetic live shows that you will ever see. I've seen them so many times over the past year, 2 years, 3 years, and I cannot recommend it enough, especially when there is new music coming out. Also, you guys are touring with Ben Quad, Restraining Order as well in the fall.
Yes.
And how do you approach playing a show like that? It's your first headliner with bands that are all across the board when it comes to genres.
Totally. That was a calculated choice. We wanted to like handcraft a lineup that like had a little bit of everything. Like obviously I think we exist in a world where mixed bills are the most normal they've been in quite a long time. It's not odd to see different types of bands on the same tour, whatever. But we really wanted to make it where it's like each band is a standout from one another explicitly and has like quite a bit of separation from one another in terms of like sonic aspects, but like culturally could all fit in the same bill. And that was kind of tailor-made for that. We wanted it to be a show and a tour where it's like you could have a blast for every single band in whatever capacity. Everything will be different, but it all makes sense together. And that was kind of the plan with this first proper headliner, because obviously we did the triple with Anxious and One Step, but we've never gone out and like done our own thing, stand on our own 2 feet, just being like, this is our tour. So we just wanted to like bring it to a place where it's like this feels special and different than anything we've done up to this point explicitly, but honors like the ethos of the band, you know?
Yeah, sure, and that's what it's all about. Bringing bands that you guys are fans of, that you think your fans are also going to be fans of as well.
Totally. And yo, like the idea is that like in theory, like someone who likes Ben Quad could come through the door and get into I Promise the World or Leaving Time or Restraining Order, and vice versa with all those bands. Like I think all of these things are similar enough where you could be a fan of any of it if you like the other, but for probably more people than not, a lot of people coming through the door might not already be an existing fan of any other of those bands. Like they'd probably just come in for whatever they're most psyched on, and hopefully they leave psyched on all of it, you know?
Absolutely. Be sure to catch this tour. It is in October and November. You do not want to miss it. And speaking of music discovery, you guys are from Long Island, New York. What does your local scene mean to you?
It's not to, be too on the nose or like speaking cliches or whatever, but like it's very literally like why the band exists, why I am living the life I've lived for my entire teenage years on to now. Like the Long Island scene, like it's strong as ever through and through. There's so many good bands happening right now. And I am never, what's the word to put it? I guess like I'm always like amazed with how there's almost never truly a drought in like local bands happening. Right now there's like a whole squad of like different bands that are doing their thing. There's your Deadshot, Grail, 10 Years Out, Liberate, Top of the World. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening right now in Long Island, and shows happening all the time, and all these bands are playing all the time, and they're all peers and all repping for each other and keeping the scene on Long Island very alive. And that means a lot to me personally, because obviously we're on tour a lot. We're always out on the road. We're living a busy life. We can't always be at every show when we're home, but it's amazing to, when we do have that time, when we are home for a little bit like we've been for now and available to just go to shows and hang out. It's just cool to see like all the stuff that's happening in our absence and whatnot.
Absolutely, and that is so sick because a lot of cities don't have that thriving DIY scene. We're lucky that Pittsburgh has a very strong DIY scene. It seems like Long Island does as well, and you guys are carrying on your backs as well. You know, your song Anthem is what it's all about, dude. And yeah, of course, it's one of my favorite songs on your debut. So you got to name a couple bands that the No Skip crew should check out. Do you have any others that you might be forgetting from Long Island that our viewers should be checking out?
Good question. There's literally speaking a lot of them, just because there's always a lot going on. One off rip that I didn't mention is my friend Billy's band, Schitt's Creek. They just put out a demo. It's awesome. Last Laugh, Deadshot, like Life Taken, just a bunch of Long Island bands that are all doing stuff, and we, just trying to constantly rep for like what's happening and what's new. There's a lot of existing incredible Long Island lineage, but what's happening right now is what matters the most, because it's current, it's tangible, it's now. It could be gone tomorrow,
Yeah, and that's it with a lot of like hardcore bands and bands in general, is you never know how long you're going to be in a band, how often you're going to be able to see those bands. So whenever you get the chance, go and see bands, go and support live music. I know we will be at the Cleveland, Ohio date of the headliner at Mahal's. Cannot miss it. And I think that's all I got. Thank you so much. This has been the No Skip Show. I'm Travis Platt. Peace out.